We like to bring people who have been in the Institute, because they're kind of you a few years from now, just to see what it's like in somebody who's been there. And Danny Duchene is not only a graduate institute, but he's also been a really good friend. We've known each other a long time, and welcome for coming, Danny.
I'm glad to be here.
Glad to be. Thanks for taking the time.
I'm glad to be here. I'm going to give a shout out to Scott Macon, since you were talking about him. Great mentor.
Scott believes in you, and you believe in him.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, guys, I want Danny, and I'm going to ask him a few questions, just to kind of talk about his own journey to this, because everybody's got a story. So, Danny, tell us like how you ended up Institute. It's a very interesting story. In fact, it's compelling.
You want to know my full story?
I want to know.
I was born in 19...
I want to know. Don't give me the whole Wikipedia, Danny.
Yes.
Why don't you talk about, but you have a very interesting life that I think would be very compelling. Give us the story in some way that shows how, in everything that happened in your life, and building the suspense up here and tell you how you got here. I think go for the full story. It's
well,
meaningful.
First of all, I'm a pastor at Saddleback Church and the National Director for Celebrate Recovery inside prisons. And the interesting thing about my story is that I began that journey of Celebrate Recovery while I myself was in prison. And one of the things that changed my heart while I was in prison, after a life of a drug addiction and then crime to fuel the money for the drug addiction, one of the things that changed my heart the most were the relational experiences that I had with caring people from the local churches and volunteers throughout the course of my life on the inside, chaplains, local Celebrate Recovery members who came into the prison where I was at. Many people came in and invested themselves personally into my life.
They pulled you out of isolation.
Yes, they did. But what I recognize now, after completing the Townsend Institute, is that they were that people fuel. They were that relational experience that I had not experienced growing up as a child.
They gave you the nutrients you didn't have.
They gave me the nutrients that I needed. So I could have learned a lot of things about drugs and alcohol. My left brain, and I'm all in favor of learning what my core issues are, what my triggers are, what was my jumping off point and why that happened. So those personal insights were important. But more than that were the relational experiences that showed me love and gave me worth, and that's what melted my heart, changed my heart so that I could believe in God and trust again. So after I was released, Saddleback Church hired me to help forward this mission of Celebrate Recovery into the nation's prisons and jails. We now do purpose-driven life and Celebrate Recovery in about 1,000 prisons and jails throughout the country now. And I, through the Townsend Institute, get to use our relational model to focus on what purpose-driven life does, what Celebrate Recovery does. The secret sauce behind both is the relational experience, the right brain to right brain experience that we have with each other. So the Townsend Institute was for me. I was looking into master's degree. I wanted to further myself in my profession, recovery work as a pastor, being able to help people. So I was looking into different counseling degrees, and then you came and spoke at a Celebrate Recovery Summit about 3 years ago. And you announced at that summit that you would begin this program, and my heart inside of me just clicked. That's what I need to help people, and that's what I need to help further my ministry conceptually. What do we do? Why do we do it? How does it change people? And it also, I needed that change. I need that personal experiential change and growth to help me be better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little, I didn't expect this. 3 years ago, I was talking and announced it, and all of a sudden this guy comes up and then said, I want to do this, and I've got a prison background. And then, I don't know if you know this, Danny, but people started coming up to me, like John Baker, the founder, and says, you got to get this guy in, and other people that believed in you. And so Scott and me and the team we got to get Danny in here, and we got to know you and love you. And then we watched you as you got the information in. You were like a sponge for this stuff, and you were good at it. And then you said you were focused also like a laser beam. You knew you'd been called to prisons, and you were going to do it. You finished, and you got out, and we just feel like you are partners and family with us.
I have felt like family with this program.
You are. So tell us a little bit about what the experience of the Institute was like for you during that time?
Highly relational, so I know there have been several questions about how does it work with online learning. I could show you my text thread on my phone right now. My cohort, we're still working with each other. When something,
that right?
When something difficult happens for the next couple days, we're all feeding into each other, asking for prayer. Something happened in our life and we reach out to each other. It's very experiential. We talk about the kickoff session. So before the kickoff session, what they didn't tell you is that you're going to be doing a little bit of inside work and kind of finding out what are the specific areas that I think I need to be working on. And by the time I go into the kickoff session, that information is already out there. And my professors are picking my lock. And it didn't take long before our whole cohort, they're in tears. We're understanding each other at a very primal developmental level.
Yeah.
What were the things from early on? And so our professors are really good at finding those implicit emotional core emotions and bringing those real time in the room and allowing the rest of our cohort speak into that.
In a safe way.
In a very safe environment, and speak into that and bring healing during the kickoff session. And so after the kickoff session, the experience that I had me hooked. This is what I want to give to my clients.
Yep.
And so throughout then the course of the time in the degree, we're working with our cohort members. We're doing online videos with each other. And your curriculum says you're going to do a role play. And you can choose to do it for real on a real issue that you have, or you can choose another issue if you want. We all chose real issues.
Why not?
My cohort worked with me personally online, somewhere in Michigan, somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere here in California. And we worked with each other on real issues for a length of time. So I could get back online with a cohort one-on-one, recording a video session, and my cohort already know me. I've already disclosed and talked about what's going on in my life. And so we pick it up and we continue the work with each other. And then our professors see the videos, and our professors are very relational, involved with us personally. Your counseling skills can improve in this area and that area. It was great in that area. And by the way, your personal life, the personal thing that you're working on, I resonate with that too. And so I've had several Townsend professors work with me throughout the course and continue to do so. Every time I see them at Celebrate Recovery Conference, they're coming back, they're speaking into my life. They got my email, they speak into my life. They continue to email me.
The personal and the professional work together. Now, let me tell you why we have these kind of groups, and then we're going to go into asking you what your favorite counseling skill is, Danny, because Danny got his master's in counseling. We don't want to put out really skilled people who are crazy. We want to put out people, because they're dangerous. Crazy people who don't know themselves, like Danny's talking about, are dangerous, and that's a waste of time. So we're going to give you the great skills, but you've got to kind of do the work and have your head scramble a little bit where your fears are and where your insecurities are and where you don't feel sure. Maybe you got shame issues. We go after that because we want to put out really skilled, healthy people. Here's a mantra that I use. And Danny, I came up with this about 6 months ago. We haven't talked a couple of times. But all of us want to be fully optimized. I want to be everything God says. To be fully optimized, express all my gifts, have a great life. I can't be fully optimized until I'm fully connected and loved. So connection and love leads to optimization. But third part is the hard part. I can't be fully loved unless I'm fully known. That means somebody's got to know the good, bad, and the ugly, and I got to be vulnerable. And so people will say, well, I'll be vulnerable a little bit. Then they'll get a little bit of love, and they'll get a little bit of optimization. I want you guys to have everything, but you got to do what Danny's saying. I got to be connected, and I also got to be vulnerable. Now, Scott wants to know, because Scott's your mentor, you learned a lot of counseling skills with that master's, and we've got a lot of counseling interest here. What skill did you learn that you liked the most and where you saw the most healing occur? That would be a great thing for our prospective students.
So Scott worked with me very personally on a skill called meta-processing, and that was important for me. It required personal growth in my life because naturally I learned several defenses from a very young age to deal and cope with emotional problems. And one of those,
I was going to ask you, what were the defenses?
Going to my head and being very left brain and figuring things out and controlling things and not being comfortable with emotions.
Okay,
So I would
very
suppress my
especially
emotions.
in addictions. I got to get away from
Yeah.
these feelings. I got to go to my head.
That's
So
it.
you become a very linear, logical person. Nothing else. The emotions went away. Okay.
So it was very important for me to learn how to get out of the left side and just be emotionally present and resonating with my clients. That required personal work. Scott Macon helped me with that. The Townsend professors helped me with that. Now it's my go-to in my therapy sessions. I'll pull out the feelings words right away and say, how do we feel? Let's feel this together. I'll say words like that. Let's
feel these together. So now they don't feel like they're being judged or shamed. You're saying, I'll do this with you.
Yeah,
and they feel safe.
And so I'm much quicker, because of the work on myself, I'm much quicker to discover and to feel, to be present with the emotion that my clients are expressing right now, and be able to talk about that and heighten that and press into that during my counseling sessions. And one of the things that comes out of that is what's called mismatching experiences. When I've been able
So
to
powerful.
uncover what are the core, the implicit, the unknown emotional learnings that my clients have kind of been rooted in from very young ages, maybe even before they can, 2 years old, before they have memories. But we begin to experience that with them in the sessions. And we begin to provide for them attachment. And we begin to provide for them what we call mismatching experiences, which is an experience, maybe the groove of their emotions goes one way, and real time in the sessions, I'm able to go across the groove with them and have a completely different emotional experience.
I got a great example of that. Did one the other day. Let's suppose your client is saying, every time I fail at work, I feel like I'm an idiot and nobody likes me, and I'm a loser. And that means that groove is what they learned in who knows when.
Yes.
And Danny comes in, or any skilled therapist is trained by us, and says, yeah, you made a mistake at work. That's reality. But at the same time, you're not alone, and there's people that don't judge you, and you're a strong person, you'll work it out. And the person goes, no, you don't understand. I'm an idiot. I failed. I'm going to let everybody down. And they say it over and over again. And what we found out, the cool part about the neurobiology, as Danny knows, is while the objective memory of the neuron is the same, history is history, you don't change that. The feelings associated with that, the pathological shame and guilt and judgment feelings are layered off, and it puts layered on the healthy response, which is what you say, and it is nothing short of miraculous.
It's the difference between me saying I understand my triggers and I don't feel them as strongly anymore.
There you go. There you go. And now I'm in control of my life. We see this work with depressions, with anxieties, with drug problems, rage problems, being overwhelmed, relational problems. It's pretty awesome. Okay. What were the challenges of coming? I mean, you had a lot of work to do. We're not easy.
Well, obviously I'm still, so I've graduated, and now after graduation in California, you need 3,000 hours of post-graduation experience to apply for licensure. But I'm having the time of my life working with clients. So is it challenging? It's very challenging. It's vigorous work. We're climbing into the well with people.
Yeah.
They're not quite understanding sometimes what even got them into the well.
Yeah.
And so we're working with them with that. And then we're also gradually with them as they journey out of that. So it's vigorous work, but it's also very rewarding when, after working with a client and they've had multiple mismatching experiences with you, that they can say, for example, I had this experience at the end of practicum, not after graduation, during my practicum, during pre-graduation, I had a client explain to me, when I asked him, so what did we do when we were completing our session? So what did we do? What's different about you now that we've gone through this counseling experience together? And he said, I don't know why. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't feel the same way anymore. I don't feel the same shame.
That's kind of everything.
I don't feel small anymore.
Yeah.
And that was...
Yeah, it wasn't a list.
It was worth the vigorous work. It's not going to be an easy program. It's going to be vigorous, work on ourselves, and learning the skills. But when I have that experience, it was worth it.
It's awesome. Now, we spend a lot of time talking, the faculty and Scott and I spend a lot of time talking about what we call the character structure, which is those capacities required to meet the demands of reality. It's what all my books are about and what we're about, and how understanding character can affect anxiety, depression, drugs, all that stuff. how was it teaching, like getting a diagnosis of anxiety or depression and being able to know, okay, oh, this is an attachment issue, they can't open up, or they have no boundaries, they can't hold on to themselves. What was it like learning that part for you, that clarity?
It was very important. So in the first couple of sessions with a client, I'm attuning, I'm allowing the emotional data from my client work through me. I'm not trying to put my finger on intellectualizing what's going on with this client. I'm trying to feel from them.
Which would have put you back into the old defense mechanism you had, and
that
you're
would
not
be
doing
my
that,
defense
right?
mechanism. So instead of that, I'm feeling with my client, and my client is talking about panic attacks.
Okay.
They're talking about out in the middle of nowhere, this panic attack comes on them, and logically it makes no sense. Nothing's going on. Why is this happening? And because of the competency we gained in understanding underlying character structure, I began to understand that there were some integration problems with this client. And that then led our sessions into a little deeper work. And
What was integration? Was it integration of what to what? This is very important for you guys.
So her central nervous system had been overcome by trauma when
Okay.
she was very young. And she, much like me, learned to go to her head. And so when difficult experiences...
Her head and heart were not integrated.
Her emotions were running on one length, and her mental skills were running really well. College student, doing well. But there was a part of her that was running its own life.
Right.
And that behavior that anxiety was coming out in the most inopportune times for her.
It's really important you guys know that, because let me explain one of our uniquenesses. A lot of programs will say, well, if they're having panic attacks, get them on meds and help them to calm down and breathe deep. All that's great. You've got to have that in really severe circumstances, but you're not dealing with that Luke 9 root of where did it come from. So you end up coping. And Danny and me and Scott and our faculty, we're not interested in helping cope. That's just not the goal. Jesus came to give us a new life. That's transformational. So if you go down to the root of, like he said, there was trauma that had to be dealt with, and helping her to feel and experience it, integrate it back into her head. Now you're not dealing with just coping and calming things down. You're talking about a person who will be different for the rest of her life. That's worth everything.
That's worth everything.
How's she doing?
We're at the beginning of our sessions.
You're just starting, okay.
However, it's interesting you use the model of the tree, because I asked her right near the beginning of our sessions, you could talk about medication. We could talk about...
And sometimes you do.
And some coping skills to help you when it happens. And so I gave her coping skills as well. However, I showed her like the model of the tree. You can have some symptoms at the top of the tree, but that's like the fruit of the tree coming from somewhere else. And I kind of challenged her a little bit.
Good.
If you're willing, we can go to the roots here and we can change the fruits that are in the top of the tree. And she said, I'm willing. And that created a basis for working more underneath, what's happening with her unconsciously and unknown.
So if you like Danny's narrative about this, whether it's counseling or leadership or whatever, our job is to help people transform businesses, hearts, and families all the way down to the roots. It's just nothing, like you said, it's work. But gosh, where are you going to spend your time? All right, Danny, you know, you've got, I don't know, a bunch of people out in the world right now watching who are kind of thinking about us and other schools and kind of thinking through this. What would you tell them to think about in terms of what works here, as they got a lot of time and money and all that stuff? How would you encourage them one way or the other to consider us?
You know, I know that in most programs you're going to get a great academic experience.
Yes.
And you're going to learn a lot of different models of counseling, and all of that is needed. We need a more rounded approach in doing counseling.
Yes.
However, if you want to have a personal experience where your own experiential growth is going to be the very thing that enables you to help your clients, because it's going to be a relational experience. So theory shows that whatever model you use, whether CBT, psychodynamic, or emotion-focused therapy, the prime tool in the counseling relationship is you. It's the relationship that you have with your clients. So the academics are necessary, the competence in
You have to know the
academics are
theory.
necessary. However, the experience of change and how to sit with a client and be that other person that emotionally resonant other person with them in the sessions that is going to bring core changes inside of them. That's what this program is well known for. And because we learned not only competence but also character structure, I experienced that beginning internship and then after graduation, beginning your post-graduation internship, you are more equipped and ready, you're counseling ready in this program. So you still need supervision. I still sit under my supervisors. I'm still at the learning stage. I'm not licensed. However, I walked into the room with a better sense of what am I emotionally feeling here in the room and how do I work with that. So I felt like I was, because of the various models that we learned and that we personally experienced, I felt like I walked into the room better equipped to work with my clients.
It kind of reminds me of the old saying, Danny, well, we get wounded and damaged in relationships, and we only get healed in relationships. When you said it's really the person of the therapist that changes everything.
That's
so your client said, I feel better, and you could probably say, what'd you learn? She could probably say, I don't know, but he was there for me.
Yeah, that's the best thing I could hear in the relationship. It wasn't about all the insights that I had or that you gave me, but I feel differently.
That's what matters. Danny Duchene, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
He just wanted to come here because we knew he's out there and he's a rock star, to give you a picture of like what it's like from somewhere on the inside. So we really appreciate you being here.